Nuzlocke Challenge from Bulbagarden's Bulbapedia. The Nuzlocke Challenge is a set of rules intended to create a higher level of difficulty while playing Pokemon games. A playthrough using these rules is often called a Nuzlocke. Nuzlocks are a popular way to play the games among fans. Many feel that the rules encourage greater Pokemon variety, create value for ones the player would not normally choose, and promote closer bonds with the player's team. The rules are not an in-game function, but self-imposed on the player's part, and thus subject to variation. The challenge originates from the comic series of the same name, which features a Nuzleaf resembling lost character John Locke as a recurring gag character. History. The basic rules were invented by Nick Franco, a California screenwriter and then university student, in March 2010. Franco posted comics depicting his playthrough of Pokemon Ruby to Fortune's /V/board, where they gained attention and inspired others to try the challenge. The following month, Franco launched a website for his comics and a forum for fans' challenge chronicles. Over time, the concept spread to various websites and formats such as written stories, animations, and live streams. Franco uses Nuzlocke as a screen name, while his comic is titled Pokemon Hard Mode. However, the word Nuzlocke eventually came to be associated with the rule set itself. Basic rules. The Nuzlocke Challenge has only 2 rules that must be followed. Limited encounters. The player may only catch the first wild Pokemon encountered in each area, and no others. If the first wild Pokemon encountered faints or flees, there are no second chances. If the first encounter in an area is a double battle or horde encounter, the player may choose which of the encountered Pokemon to catch, but only one of them. Dying. Any Pokemon that faints is considered dead and must be released. Revival methods such as revive, revival blessing, etc. are forbidden. If the player runs out of living Pokemon, they fail the challenge and must restart the game. Near universal rules. Mandatory nicknames. The player must nickname all of their Pokemon for the sake of forming stronger emotional bonds. Met N. Confirmation. If the player is unsure whether a location is a valid new encounter or not, such as multiple levels of a cave, they can look at the Pokemon's summary page to see where they were met in order to confirm whether it's a new location or not. Gift Pokemon. Some players consider gift Pokemon, such as the Eevee found in the Cella condominiums, to be separate encounters from wild Pokemon encountered in the same area. As of White, Hard Mode, Episode 3, it is implied that the player can accept Pokemon that are received freely from NPCs. No resets. The player may not voluntarily soft reset to undo progress. No cheating. Cheating devices, such as Game Shark, may not be used except to make the game harder, such as cheating to disable share in games that don't allow such an option. Full wipe. A blackout/whiteout is considered to be game over even if there are alive Pokemon left in the Pokemon storage system. No outside trading. The player may only use use Pokemon obtained through in-game methods, meaning that trading with other save files, mystery gifts, etc. are all prohibited. Trade Evolution Clause. There is no firm consensus on trading a Trade Evolution Pokemon away and back to one's file to evolve it. Boxing. Deceased Pokemon may be permanently sent to the Pokemon storage system or transferred to another game rather than releasing them. Optional rules. Though the above rules tend to stay consistent with all players, many variant rules have been created to adjust difficulty based on personal preference. Many other rules exist besides those listed here. Regardless of the optional rules used, the run is considered a Nuzlocke challenge so long as the two basic rules are in place. Increased difficulty, battle restrictions, set mode clause. The battle style must be changed to set in the options menu, meaning the player does not get the opportunity to switch out their Pokemon after an opponent's Pokemon faints. Equal parties / fair fight clause. During gym leader and rival battles, the active party must not have more Pokemon than the opponents. No items may be used during battles except for held items. Limitation due to perceived power level of X items. No heal items, potions, and status healing items may not be used. No held items may not be used. Leveling restrictions. Level cap. The player may not use Pokemon above the level of the next gym leader / Elite Four / champion's highest leveled Pokemon their ace. Pokemon that exceed the level limit might be left in storage until they become eligible, or they might have to be released. No evolving. The player must use the B button to cancel any evolutions under their ownership. No child support. The daycare may not be used. No X share. The X share may not be used. This does not apply to games starting from Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, where the X share can't be disabled without third-party tools. No candy, rare candy, and X candy may not be used. Overworld restrictions. No / limited Pokemon centers. Pokemon centers may not be used, or only used a certain number of times per center, or a certain number of times between each gym. No buying. No items may be purchased from NPCs. The player must rely on what they find in the overworld or receive for free. Limited balls. Only a certain number of Decay balls may be purchased per store. No escape. The player may not flee from battle. No wild encounters. Alternatively, the player must flee whenever possible in order to limit the amount of experience gained. Pokemon restrictions. Random starter. The first partner Pokemon must be randomly chosen. A common system is if the last digit of the character's trainer ID number is 1-3. The player must choose the grass-type first partner Pokemon if it is 4-6, the fire type if it is 7-9, the water type if it is 0, free choice. Alternatively, use the trainer ID modulo 3. Remainder 0 equals grass, remainder 1 equals fire, remainder 2 equals water. Caught only. the first partner Pokemon must be released or boxed after the first wild Pokemon is caught. One per gym. The player may only catch the first Pokemon after each gym leader instead of in each area. Ban list. Certain Pokemon such as legendaries, pseudo-legendaries, and slash or other powerful Pokemon are banned as they excessively mitigate the difficulty of the challenge. Monotype / monocolor challenge. Only Pokemon of a certain type or color may be used. Rather than the first Pokemon encountered in an area, the player may catch the first one which fits the category, or will evolve into fitting the category. If a Pokemon would lose the category upon evolution, it may not evolve. No pet clause. No Pokemon may be kept in the PSX. In other words, the player may only own 6 Pokemon at a time. This was named after its inventor, user Notepad, on the now defunct original Nuzlocke forum. Notepad Extreme / first 6 only. The player may only own 6 Pokemon throughout the entire run. If all 6 faint or otherwise become ineligible, then it's an instant game over. Gift lock. Only gift Pokemon may be used. Catching and breeding Pokemon are banned. No repels. It is forbidden to use repels before the first encounter on a route, as this can guarantee certain appearances. Alternatively, it is forbidden to use repels whatsoever in order to expose the team to more danger. Miscellaneous. Limited training, quality of life features such as Pokemon Amy. The Dex, Nav, and Super training may not be used. Challenge mode, Black 2 and White 2 only. The difficulty must be set to Challenge mode, which increases the levels of opposing trainers' Pokemon and gives some notable trainers extra Pokemon, held items, and different movesets. This is not frequently used because, due to a glitch, the stats of NPC-owned Pokemon are based on the level in normal mode, making them only slightly stronger than their normal mode counterparts while still awarding more experience. Memory only, online aids, walkthroughs, NPC team info, etc. may not be used. Speedrun. In addition to the Nuzlocke rules, the player tries to defeat the champion with as little time played on the save file counter as possible. Progression sacrifice. After each batch, the player randomly selects one party member to sacrifice. Decreased difficulty. Slow start. The 2 basic rules are not in effect until the player has gained their first Pokéballs and thus the ability to catch Pokemon. For example, encounters starting from the Poochyena / Zigzagoon that the player has to save Professor Birch from, up to when the player can catch Pokemon, are not counted. Likewise, in the games where the first rival battle is immediately after obtaining the first partner Pokemon, the release or permanently box a Pokemon if it faints rule is often not enforced at that time. Species / Juice clause. The first wild Pokemon in each area rule does not apply in an area until a Pokemon in an evolutionary line is encountered that has not been caught yet. For example, if the player's first encounter in an area is with a Caterpie and they already own a Caterpie, Metapod, or Butterfree, it wouldn't count as their first encounter in that area. This allows for increased variety in a Pokémon collection. A limit may be set on how many times the player can apply the species/dupe's clause in an area. If this many duplicate Pokémon are encountered in an area, the species/dupe's clause is no longer applied for that area and the player must settle for the next Pokémon they encounter. Dusty clause/token clause during a monotype or monocolor run for each area the player passes through which has no valid encounters. They might collect one token which is spent to catch an extra valid Pokémon in the future. Named after its inventor, user Dustox on the Nuzlocke forum. Second chance. The player may have a small number of second chances or revives of fallen team members. Typically, this type of ruling is done by gym, such as getting one revive per badge. Shiny claws. Shiny Pokémon can be caught even if they're not a first encounter, and do not need to be released if they faint. It's up to the player whether shinies may be used during a challenge, or merely traded away/transferred to another game for safekeeping. Shiny replacement clause, a compromise where shiny Pokémon may be used in a Nuzlocke, but another Pokémon must be released in exchange. Checkpoints. Each gym badge can act as a checkpoint. If the player gets a game over, they may restart from when they won their last badge. HM Helper. If the player has no Pokémon that can use a field move that is required to continue the game, they may catch another Pokémon to use the required field move. However, this Pokémon cannot be used in battle and must be released as soon as it is no longer needed or if the player catches another Pokémon that can use the same field move. On Safari, the first encounter only rule is modified for the Safari zone. One catch may be permitted for each sector of the zone, rather than the more restrictive interpretation that the entire zone is one area. This rule is largely used to the varied encounter pools of each sector, and the Safari zones often containing many Pokémon not found elsewhere. Similarly, the Pokémon dens of Galar's wild area can be interpreted as their own new area each, rather than only making one catch from the entire wild area or from each named sub-area. Areas sharing a name but divided by a story progression may be considered two distinct areas, such as Unova's Pinwheel Forest, which contains an outer area accessible before beating the Nacron Gym, and an inner area accessible afterwards, each with their own encounter pools. A little help from my friends. Cheating devices such as Game Shark may be used. Rare candy claws. Hack in infinite rare candies to avoid tedious grinding. It was popularized by the streamer Pokémon challenges. Master Ball claws. Hack in infinite Master Balls to avoid wild Pokémon accidentally being knocked out, running away, or using escape moves like Teleport and Roar. Variant rule sets. Hardcore Nuzlocke, a general name for any Nuzlocke variant which restricts item use and over-leveling in order to produce a more difficult run and more strategic play. Wonderlock, any Pokémon caught must immediately be traded using Wonder Trade and the received Pokémon is used instead. Typically, This comes with a level restriction, where if the received Pokemon is more than a certain number of levels higher than the original Pokemon, it must be traded again until an appropriate level Pokemon is received. Soul Link, two-player variant where both players' Pokemon are soul-linked based on their origin. So the first partner Pokemon are linked, the Pokemon from Route 1 are linked, and so on. If a Pokemon dies, its soulmate does too. Linked Pokemon must be in both players' parties at once, i.e., one cannot leave a Pokemon in the PSS while its soulmate is on the active team. Common additional rules include restricting duplicate types between the two players. If either player is using a Pokemon of a certain type, the other player cannot use any Pokemon of that same type. If both players find the same type of Pokemon for one encounter, neither is able to use it. Egg lock, the player catches Pokemon, one per route as normal, but instead of using the Pokemon caught, they hatch a randomly generated egg. Usually this is done via trades or cheat devices, where the egg Pokemon are chosen by a third party such as friends or a streaming audience. Wedlock. Each pair of Pokemon is married/bonded based on the order they are caught in. A Pokemon can only switch out for its bondmate. If a Pokemon dies, its bondmate must be the next one sent in. If one widow survives a battle, they might either remarry the next catch or get permabox retired out of grief. Randomizer mods can be used to add more variety to Nuzlocke. However, encountering a legendary or other powerful Pokemon early can greatly reduce difficulty. Additionally, catch rates may have to be adjusted via the randomizer in order for legendary Pokemon to be feasibly caught using low-tier balls. Alphabet lock. The 6 Pokemon in the active party must be the first 6 species names in alphabetical order or reverse alphabetical. For example, if the player has a Squirtle, Pidgey, Mankey, Beedrill, Pikachu, Geodude, Clefairy, and Avera, then the player's active team is Agra, Beedrill, Clefairy, Geodude, Mankey, Pidgey. Then if Mankey evolves into Primate, its new name is lower in alphabetical order, so Pikachu takes its spot on the team. Lore lock. A large rule set with individual rules for each species, inspired by mythological creatures and stories. Valok, instead of limiting Pokemon by route, this variant limits by type of ball. Only one Pokemon may be caught in a Pokeball ball, one may be caught in a Great Ball, one in a Quick Ball, etc. Tips: repelling counter manipulation. Having a repel active and a Pokemon in the first position at a specific level can be used to filter out unwanted encounters and in some cases guarantee specific encounters. Second, for difficult encounters, it is wise to have at least one Pokemon you are willing to sacrifice in order to switch to a better one. Recommended Pokemon to be sacked are ones with weak base stats, ones whose type is shared by a more powerful teammate, or ones who could have a replacement caught in an upcoming place. Play around the crypt. Being aware if your Pokemon is in danger of being taken out by a critical hit is key to avoiding unnecessary deaths. Generation I has a critical hit damage multiplier between 1.5 times and 1.95 times depending on the level, with higher levels doing more damage. From generations Roman 2 to V, the damage dealt by a critical hit is 2 times as much as a normal hit. From generation VI onward, critical hits deal 1.5 times more damage. Also, critical hits ignore stat changes, such as increased defense with defense curl. Avoid unnecessary encounters. Trainers use better decision-making and have higher levels on average than wild Pokemon within the same route. Avoiding non-required trainer battles increases the chance your Pokemon will survive. Be aware of mandatory battles. Don't trigger mandatory battles, such as rival fights, without first making sure your team is fully healed and properly leveled. Don't underlevel. There is no reason to have an underleveled Pokemon during important battles. Even if adhering to gym leader level restrictions, make sure to have your team at the level cap before you challenge the leader. Protect the important ones. Be aware of which Pokemon are best suited to upcoming gyms, and do not expose them to unnecessary risks such as fighting a strong route trainer. A trainer-owned Pokemon will choose the move that is most effective against the enemy Pokemon. As such, you can bait certain moves in order to get a free switch. A common example is having a Pokemon weak to ground type moves out on the field and then switch to a Pokemon that is immune to ground moves, such as a flying type Pokemon or a Pokemon with levitate. Generational awareness. Be aware of changes between generations. For example, Sturdy in generations Roman 3 and Roman 4 only protects against one-hit knockout moves, while in Generation V onward it protects the Pokemon from being knocked out with one hit, while full HP, PP stall, using healing moves or items if allowed in order to force a dangerous encounter to waste all their good moves. Typically, this is used for low PP moves that deal large amounts of damage. If successful, this can lead to the enemy using struggle to knock itself out. Trivia. So far in the original Nuzlocke comics, one first partner Pokemon of each type has been used. Trico in Ruby, Charmander in Fire Red, and Oshawott in the ongoing White Challenge. The original Nuzlocke run through Ruby was a failure due to the entire active team dying in the champion battle. In the Nuzlocke forums log of successful runs, the most victorious Pokemon of all time is Gyarados, which has survived 240 recorded champion battles at time of writing.